Hello, this is the Cobra BC330CU, which is a brush cutter with a 33cc Cobra engine. This is how it arrives with you. So what I'm going to do is unpack it from the cardboard packaging, take everything out, and then I can show you how to put it together so you can use it around the garden. So here it is, all unpacked, laid out, ready to assemble. Really easy to put together. We've got the main machine here, the Cobra engine and the drive shaft. The handlebar needs just a little bit of assembly, which is really easy. This is the strap that goes over your shoulder to take the weight. Again, that clips on. The all-important manual that tells you everything you need to know about this model, assembly, maintenance, everything you need in there. And then we've got the nylon cutter head here. We've got the brush cutter blade, which is a 3-cornered one, really good for tough weeds. Our little toolkit with all the tools that you need to assemble, and the guard there that goes on the end to stop any debris being blown back at you, and the fuel bottle. This is a 2-stroke engine, so it's an oil and petrol mix, so that helps you to get it the ratio right. So first thing to do is to put on the handlebar. Really simple. It goes on this way so that the trigger is on the right hand side as you're using the machine. And what we do to put it on is we take off this red nut here, and that will lift out and fold back. And what we've got inside there is basically a tube that we can slide it into. There's already a little rubber grommet there, or washer, call it what you want. It's just going to soften it and take out any vibration, and there's one on the top. So we take our handlebar and we use the flat piece here, goes into that groove like that, and then this fits on, and it actually locks in. If you can see there, that these little lugs lock in there, and then it just picks up the hole again with that bolt, and we just tighten it down, and it pushes down gradually as we tighten. Just make sure that back is in place like that, and then we just tighten that down, and the rubber cushions it and holds it firmly into place. So we need it nice and tight like that. So that is that. So it's nice and firm. So that will take the weight now when we're holding it in, and using the machine. And then we've got the cable here. What we can do, there were some cable clips. So one on the handlebar there, just put that into place, just clip it in. Sometimes you just need to give them a little bit of a squeeze just to get them in like that. And we've got one here. It's a bit cold doing this. If it was warmer, it would be easier. So we just push those into place, and then the third one at the back here, like that. So that just stops that from flapping around when we're using the brush cutter. The other thing I'm going to do while I'm at this end is to put on our strap here. And this is one that is designed to go over your shoulders. So there's the back. It's got a buckle at the front so we can undo it to put it on around our shoulders and then clip it together. It's fully adjustable, so you can make it fit you, and then we clip it on to this bar here, and you've got 5 positions, so it's just trial and error to get the one that suits your height, and just clip that into place like that. And that is a pad that goes there between the machine and your leg. So that is in place. So the next thing is to show you how we fit on the guard, the brush cutter blade, and the nylon cutter at that end. To fit the guard, very simple. This goes on to the end of the shaft, sort of in that position like that. So it just stops any grass or debris going backwards towards you. So it's very simple. We're going to take this cover off just here, and then we're going to take this little bolt out just there, so that will line up through there, and then this will be fitted around the shaft and then tightened back up into position. So they're all loose now, so that will come apart into the 3 pieces like that. And then we've also got to take out this little bolt just here at the end. That's important, we take that out. So to fit this, first thing we're going to do is fit the base plate there, and that is going to line up with this hole, and it sits underneath. To cushion it, you'll find this piece of rubber here, so that goes around there, like that, and then that holds into place, and that little bolt there goes through the hole and into the base of the shaft. At this stage we just want this finger tight because it's got to be able to move, because then we are getting the main guard here that then slides into position there, and then this goes underneath like that. So that means that those holes are all in line with that. We can now tighten that up to hold that firmly into place. And the little split washer there will stop that from vibrating out. So that's nice and tight. Okay, and then we've got the rubber in position there. We can then put that over the top, making sure that get it the right way would help, like that. So that, you can see, fits nice and snugly. And then it's just a case of tightening those bolts down, which will go through to that base plate, and that will hold everything securely in place. So we need to make sure it's really tight to stop it vibrating off. Okay, so they're all nice and tight on there. So what I'm going to do now is show you how we can fit the two cutting heads. We've got the blade and we've got the nylon cord. So what I'm going to do is turn this over to show you how to fit it. But one thing that I will point out is that if we look into the top of the head here, there's a hole, and that will rotate round, and it's basically so we can lock it. And once that's on and being tightened, if we twist that round, that will slot in, and it will then hold this head tight so we can tighten it from underneath. So that's what that hole is for. So we need that to undo the bolt. And what we've got here, we've got the spanner socket there, and I'm going to use the Allen key if I need to lever it. So I'm going to flip it over now onto its back. There's no fuel in it, so it's not going to come to any harm. I put the pin into the hole, so that's locked that. I can now take my socket there, get the right one on, and this is a left-hand thread, so it's the opposite way. So normally it would be clockwise to tighten it, but in this case, because it's a left-hand thread, it's clockwise to loosen it. So I'm just going to loosen that off, holding the pin there to stop the head from spinning. And then we can take that nut off, pop that there with the spanner. Then we can take the pin out for a second, and then the cover comes off, and then there's a spacer, and then we've also got that on there, which we're going to leave on anyway. So that's on there. So what we're going to do is put the blade on first. The blade comes with a cover on it, so we're going to leave the cover on it just to avoid touching the sharp edges. So there's the blade, doesn't matter which way it goes on. So that is going to fit over there, and you can see there is a little ridge there that fits on there like that. So we've got that into position. I'm just holding it with my fingers. We've got the spacer on there, and that locks into position. Then we've got this cover here, and then we've got the bolt. And then remember, it's the opposite way to put that on. So I'm going to do it just finger tight to start with. So it's in an anti-clockwise direction to tighten this. And then just to make sure it's tight, I'm going to get the little bar again and just push this into the hole and just get the little socket. And then I can put the Allen key through there just to give a little bit of leverage, holding it in place with the pin. And that is really tight there, so that won't vibrate off at all. And then when we do need to use this, all we need to do is to take off the cover here like that, and we can see then we've got the blade there. So don't take that off until you're actually going to use it. So I'm going to put that back on now, because we're not going to cut with it. And then I'm going to show you how we would swap that over. So it's a reverse procedure, so it's the pin locked into position, and then we're going to take that off. So we're just doing it again in a clockwise direction, like that. And then I can finish it off with my fingers. So we've got the bolt, we've got the cup spacer, the small spacer, and then that can be taken off. Make sure, of course, that that pops out because we need this piece to go back on. So that then goes back onto there, slots into position. We've got our spacer that goes back on. We don't need this when we're putting on the nylon cutting head, so we need to make sure that is put somewhere safe. Keep it with the 3-bladed one there. And then we've got the nylon head here, and it's again just a case of tightening that on. So I'm just going to start that by hand. Just tighten that on anti-clockwise. Line the pin up, and then we can do that by hand. There's no spanner needed, so we're just giving that a really good twist in that anti-clockwise direction until that's really tight. Take the pin out, and that is the nylon cutting head on. Pull out the tabs. This one is what we call a self-feed, so when you're using this, these are obviously not long enough at the moment. When you push that down, it will release. When you're actually using it, just bang it on the ground, it will release more. If it's too long, it doesn't matter because you've got a blade here on the side of the guard that actually cuts them to length. So that is now ready to go. So what we'll do is turn that over. I'll show you how to fuel it up and show you the starting procedure. Now that we've got the cutting heads all fixed on, I can show you how we operate this end of it and how to start it and run the machine. First thing we need to do, of course, is to put in some petrol. As I've already mentioned, this is a 2-stroke engine, so it's an oil and petrol mix, and it's important that you get the right ratio with there, and that will be in your engine manual there. So make sure you read it because it does vary from engine to engine. So this is already mixed up. This is petrol and oil, and what I'm going to do is put some of this in the petrol tank, which is at the back of the engine here. Take off the petrol cap there. Now when you mix this up, you can use unleaded E10 petrol. Always use fresh petrol because it goes stale very quickly. So the idea is once you've mixed it up, to use it within 30 days to get maximum efficiency from the engine. Certainly don't use petrol that you've had in a garage in a can from the previous season because it just won't work very well. The engine won't run well. So fresh petrol and the right oil mix is essential, and then we can pop back on the petrol filler cap so it's nice and tight. When we start the engine, while we're here, we've got the pull cord, so that is going to be the pull cord. This one has got a manual choke on it, so that is when the choke is open and we push the lever up there into the closed position. So we would use that when the engine's cold and you're starting it for the first time. Underneath there, we've got the primer button. There's a little rubber button there that we would push in several times when the engine's cold. And because this is new, I'm going to do it a few more times because what that will do is actually pump petrol from the tank, and you can probably just see it flowing up the petrol pipe there into the carburetor. So that's important that you do that until all the air bubbles have gone, but normally 3 or 4 times is sufficient once the engine's been running. So that's the fuel and primer dealt with. Just have a little look on the handlebars here. We've got here on the right hand one, we've got the trigger throttle, which is there, so that obviously gives us the rev to when we're using it, and it's also got the stop start. So forward position is stop, pull it back to start, so we need it pulled back in the start position before we can start the engine. And this is designed so that when you're using it, if you want to turn it off quickly, you just click it forward with your thumb. So it's a safety feature as well. So we pull that back, we've got the fuel in it, I've primed it underneath, I've put the choke into the on position, so it will now start. Bear in mind, this is a new engine, it's never been started before, so it might take several pulls to get the fuel through, but once it's been running, it will start very, very easily. So let's give it a go. Okay, we're just going to put the choke down now it's running. At the same time, I'm going to rev the engine. There you go. Once you've revved it and just got a little bit of warmth into the engine, it will tick over really easily. And of course now it will start because the engine is warm. So that is it. We've got the cutting end all sorted. We've got the engine sorted this end, so it's ready for use in the garden. And of course, remember to always refer to your manual for everything you need to know about the brush cutter. So enjoy it in the garden.
Remember to register your Cobra online at www.cobragarden.co.uk. and always have your Cobra serviced regularly, check the website for your nearest dealer.